Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is episode number 11 of the
11.
11. Here we are of the random album review. For those who do not already know, I'm Larry,
And I am Brian.
and the way this works is each week Brian and I alternate choosing an album for the other person to listen to for the first time. And then, we're going to sit down on camera. We talk about it for a little bit. We talk about our thoughts. From a new listener and from somebody who's listened to the music before, you get both sides. We give, our honest thoughts, and, we talk about it. We move on, go next week, do it all over again. Pretty simple.
Oh, and over and over and
And over
over.
and over. Never
And
stops.
yep,
This week, my week, Brian, and
big week.
big week, big week. We're going to go down memory lane for me, back to some pretty dark times in sophomore and junior year, but
Oof.
it's okay. It's okay. Love this album to death because of those times. We're listening to Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, one of, if not their best album, and, potentially probably their biggest album in terms of sales and everything as well. um, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, they've been around for a little while, since the early '80s. Not the same core members as the original band. Um, in, I believe, the late '80s, I want to say '87, '88, '89. They're former, I believe, guitarist or bassist, I can't remember. Hillel Slovak, I believe he was the guitarist. He unfortunately passed away from a heroin overdose. Um, really broke the band apart. Member Flea, he was completely heartbroken. Their drummer at the time left the band because he was so heartbroken. He just couldn't deal with it. He couldn't deal being around with it anymore. So he left the band. Anthony Kiedis, who was struggling with his own heroin addiction at the time, um, he obviously, was in a dark place himself. He's in a very similar situation as his bandmate, and so he took time away and this and that, and the future looked grim for him. But they brought in a new drummer, Chad Smith, our Will Ferrell look-alike. I showed you last night. We
That was
we
so
love him.
funny.
We love him to death. And they also brought in the absolutely talented and one of my favorite guitarists of all time, John Frusciante, who has his own troubled history with things. It's He's left the band on 2 occasions. He's been in the band 3 separate times. Um, but they released shortly after the death of Hillel Slovak. They released Mother's Milk in the late '80s, I believe '89. They followed that up with their biggest record at the time with producer Rick Rubin, huge name. They released Blood Sugar Sex Magic in '91. And then, because of his struggle, Frusciante's struggle with his own addiction, as well as his struggle with the spotlight being on him, he hated the idea of living in, like breathing Hollywood, essentially. He left the band. Dave Navarro, who is the guitarist for, I'm forgetting off the top of my head. It's Jane's Addiction, I believe. Um, he joins the band, but obviously with his metal background, the album sounded a little different. It wasn't received as well. Uh, but then he leaves the band because of some disputes between he and Anthony Kiedis. And John Frusciante rejoins the band, and through that reformation of that friendship and that the idea of the band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, they all get together and they make this absolute gem of an album. Um, Obviously, there's a pretty big overarching theme here with the idea of Californication. It's a very common thing in music where people idealize or idolize the idea of California, Hollywood, Los Angeles. Just to name a few artists that have mentioned, things of the lines of, Hollywood, LA, California. We have Bob Dylan, Journey, Chuck Berry, Beach Boys, The Doors, the Ramones, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, David Bowie. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. The Chili Peppers are not the first people to do this by any means. Um, but it's kind of this whole idea of, fame and going to California being like the big thing, the big goal, the American dream, this and that. And, it's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Live your life how you want to live it.
Everyone does that, has a point in their life where like, oh, I want to be a music person, and
Yeah, I wanna
they
go be
go
a rock
to
star.
yeah, and they go to California, like sit on the curb, be like spare change, and then make a either a really good song or a really bad song.
Hey,
Either way,
it's part of the trials and tribulations.
of course,
Um,
gotta start
so
somewhere.
obviously, this is a little different from everything we've listened to in the past. It's very, very funky, very alternative. A lot of different inspirations from bands in the 70s and the 80s on this, especially in a growing scene of like a very early form of like funk, pop, punk. It's a very strange. It was a very weird time in LA in the early 80s. Um, but overall, I like front to back. This is one of those albums that I sit down and I just listen to, and in a lot of ways, I just find myself lost in the album. And you probably get that to a degree. Like it
Mm.
just a lot of very powerful bass lines, a lot of melodic guitar work from John Frusciante. It just the album as a whole is very very good. What it was so listening to it for your first time, Brian. What would you say? Just very early on, very brief.
Mm. I liked it honestly. Honestly, I understand why people will enjoy, or a lot of people, rather. I don't understand why a lot of people listen to them.
Hmm.
They're very very melodic and very. It's a very good vibe in my opinion.
It is a very good vibe. So very briefly, I didn't want to go like super in depth on any of the songs because the three songs that I'm choosing here, the three biggest songs on this album, three of their biggest songs in general. I mean, a lot of people know them pretty well. You hear them come on, and it's like, oh yeah, I know that one. So very briefly, we have Californication, the title track for the album. Sort of the ideal of like a fictional dream world, where like everything is, this idea of California and being perfect and going to LA and making it big and this and that. Specifically, I wanted to highlight one of the verses just because, and it doesn't have like a whole lot of meaning. I absolutely love when artists love to tie in like pop culture references into their music. And there's an entire verse in here that is just littered with it. It goes, "Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement." Kind of a double-edged sword here. I've always looked at it like because this is a reference to Star Trek.
Mm.
Space is the final frontier, made in a Hollywood basement. It's a show. It's just made on a TV set, whatever. But also, I've looked at this is like a potential slight to the idea and like the theory, the conspiracy theory that the moon landings are fake. I don't know if you've ever heard, but
No, that's the first time ever. I don't know what you're talking about. What? That's
what?
crazy.
He follows it up saying, "And Cobain, can you hear the spheres singing songs off station to station?" Obviously, a reference to Kurt Cobain of Nirvana. Um, Also referencing the time when, for MTV Unplugged, Nirvana covered a David Bowie song off of his album Station to Station. So, two more pop culture references right there. Follows it up by saying, "And Alderon's not far away. It's Californication." Alderaan is a planet in Star Wars. So yet again, just
Oh,
another little pop culture reference right there at the end, and it ties it all together, saying it's Californication, like all these things that seem real in this and that. Like it's kind of not. It is, but it's not.
yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to follow it up with Scar Tissue, another one of my absolute favorite songs off of this album. You can look at it in two lights, kind of. It's similar, very similar lights, but different at the same time. specifically with drug abuse in the band in the past. Most members having, had a history of addiction and such. You could look at it as being, the band members directly going towards, that idea of the drug addiction, especially with the heroin usage, because you will see oftentimes people that do heroin, they will have scars on their arms or in their fingers, wherever they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you could also look at it as just like the idea of scar tissue being like a past trauma, things that have shaped you as a person and who you are today.
Yeah.
Um, the opening verse, and it kind of sums the song up pretty well overall, says, "Scar tissue that I wish you saw, sarcastic Mr. Know It All. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you, 'cause with the birds I'll share this lonely view." So scar tissue they wish you saw, obviously, talking about the past trauma, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Sarcastic Mr. Know It All. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. This is a reference to, like I mentioned, the guitarist from the previous album, Dave Navarro. Um, Anthony Kiedis is obviously talking about a little bit about their relationship. They didn't get together very well. He described Dave Navarro as being sarcastic, being kind of just a rude guy, not pleasant to work with. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. I can't remember the exact song off of One Hot Minute, but in one of the music videos, Anthony and Dave Navarro actually kiss, and that's that
Oh.
reference. Um, and 'cause with the birds, I'll share this lonely view. That's a reference to the idea of like a bird being up in the sky, flying all alone, being able to look down on everyone else. Anthony describes it as like during his time with drug addiction, he felt so alone. He described himself similarly to a bird, how a bird looks down on everything else because nobody
Mm-hmm.
else can be up there with him. And then finally, I wanted to cover another one of my favorite songs on this album, another very big popular one, Other Side. A song about, struggles with addiction again, struggles with, possible thoughts of suicide, stuff of the nature. Um, he says, how long will I slide? Well, separate my side. I don't believe it's bad. Slit in my throat, it's all I ever. So the first line in that, how long will I slide? On just like brief, not thinking about it, there's not a whole lot there, but Anthony's kind of, he's looking at his drug addiction in the past as like he knows he can't get out of it. It's not going to just get better. So he, instead of saying, is it going to end? He's just saying, how long am I going to keep going before it ends? Really. Um, he says, I don't believe it's bad, and I have a quote to follow that up. Slit in my throat, it's all I ever. Again, the possible thoughts of suicide and struggles and this and that. But going back to the I don't believe it's bad part, Anthony has said in his documentary, I believe in 2004,
Oh.
he has a quote that says, I don't believe that drug addiction is inherently bad. It's a really dark and heavy and destructive experience, but would I trade my experience for that of a normal person? Hell no. It was ugly, and there's nothing I know that hurts as bad, but I wouldn't trade it for a minute. It's that appreciation of every emotion in the spectrum that I live for. I don't go out of my way to create it, but I have found a way to embrace all of it. I'm in a position to be of service to hundreds of other suffering people. So he looks at his past addiction because, and again, as far as we know, because things happen, he's been clean since 2000. Good for him. Very happy for him, obviously. But he still feels like his feelings and emotions and stuff like that. He has a almost like a purpose to share his story with other people that are struggling themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now that we've gone through the few songs that I wanted to go through, I did want to show really quickly because this is it's a common occurrence on the show. Now that things are moving on in our lives and such, but wanted to show off my vinyl, which I know you can't see this right now, Brian, but I'm showing the camera.
That looks awesome, dude. I
Yeah,
like the red hot chili pepper part of it.
dude, it's so great, isn't it? I this cover's just iconic. The blue, the red in the pool, how it's kind of like inverse of the sky and the pool water, and
Hmm.
on the back, very again, I know you can't see this, but if I'm not mistaken, this writing on the back of the song titles is Anthony's handwriting because he does all of the set lists for like when they do live shows, and they'll always post the set list after every show on their Instagram, and it looks very similar in like the handwriting style. I just, it's very scratchy, very flowy. It's so great. But then we
Mm.
have the inner insert, which is just a picture of the band hugging it out before one of their shows. On the back, just the lyrics. They're kind of small. Don't try to read those.
I,
Um,
that says Californication right there, I think.
no way. The vinyls, the records themselves aren't super special. They're just black. They have the inner label has the water from the cover. But yeah, very cool record. It was very it was expensive, but
Oh, nice.
um, so Brian, favorite
All right.
songs.
Favorite songs?
Do you want to go first? Do
I
you want me?
lo- I can go first. I
Go
mean,
ahead. Not gonna
we
stop you.
usually is always
Yeah,
the first time listener goes first,
go
but
ahead.
I liked Around the World and Californication.
Dude, I absolutely, and I know you mentioned this before we started recording, but I love that you love around all around the world because that song, that the opening to that song, like it just sets, it kind of sets the entire tone for the album. Like it, especially when you think, because I know you haven't listened to it, but they had Blood Sugar Sex Magic, absolute banger, incredible album, front to back. One Hot Minute, which I don't want to say completely changed the sound of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but there was a lot of metal influence in that album. It's different. And then Californication comes out, and people are like, "Oh man, where's this gonna be?" They knew John Frusciante was back at this point, so it wasn't gonna be the same style of music as One Hot Minute, but people weren't exactly sure where they were going to be musically. But that
Hmm.
first song, it just it just sets the entire tone of the album. It's great. So personally, I have like
Personally.
4 songs on this album that I really really enjoy, and they kind of all vie it out for like that
Jeez, all
Top Gun.
right.
I I
Just say I just like the entire album at that point. Come
I
on,
mean,
man.
I kind of do. Uh, the 3 songs I mentioned earlier, obviously Californication, absolute banger, absolute heater. The music video for the song is awesome. It's great. Uh, Other Side, another banger, absolute heater. Scar Tissue, absolute banger, heater. Love it. But I do want to give a shout out to the ballad on the album, Porcelain, which is a story that Anthony wrote about a woman, a young woman who's living in a YWCA, but she was going to meetings for sobriety because she was struggling with drug addiction at the time. And he
Hmm.
wrote the song about her and her struggles with addiction and, like caring for her daughter. And he compares her to being porcelain because
Hmm.
porcelain is like supposed to be shiny and white and
Delegate.
perfect. Yeah, delicate, fragile. Great song. I absolutely love porcelain. Gets me in my feels every time. Um,
Without fail.
Without fail, exactly. So, Brian, least favorite songs? Do you have any?
This. Not really.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Personally, it it almost didn't make the least favorite cut, but when I was going through re-listening to the
Almost.
almost when I was going through and re-listening, right on time just kind of, I don't know. It feels like it's in a weird spot in the album. It's the
Oh
second.
yeah.
It's the second to last song. It's short.
That's
It
the least streams on Spotify.
does have the least streams. Maybe it's a
Out of
sign.
the album.
Maybe it's a sign.
Maybe people know.
Maybe they know.
Maybe
Maybe they
people
know
agree
how
with
I
you.
feel.
Maybe you are people.
Maybe I am people.
Yep.
Just I don't know. It doesn't. It's not a bad song. It just I don't know. And I've said this before. I kind of just want more out of it. just a little bit more. Maybe like an extended guitar solo or something. I'm not sure. It just something different. And I mean that's just part of the creative process. And I'll show you this after. And for anyone that hasn't seen it before, there is a demo of Californication that exists out there where the song is slowed and it's like it almost like a slowed and
Ooh.
reverbed. It's weird. It's very weird. It does
Oh,
not
you
sound.
mean TikTok version?
It does
Oh my
not
god.
sound right at all. I'm like I'm so glad they found the right chords and the right rhythm because it's an absolute banger. But if you haven't heard it before, go listen to it. It's different. It's very strange. It's just part of the music making process. Like they had the song recorded and they were like, this just doesn't sound right. And they changed it up. They kept trying. They kept trying. They kept trying. And eventually they were just going to drop the song. They were just going to say, we're not going to release
Oh,
Californication on the album Californication. Bruh. And
that's crazy.
Rick Rubin told them, he was like, hey guys, like just do it, try one more time, just one more time. They tried one more time. John Frusciante had listened to, I cannot remember the name or the band, unfortunately, but he listened to a specific song by a specific band. He heard a chord like progression on the song, and all he did is he changed the key of it. He played it for the guys in the studio, and they were like, "Oh, whoa, that's it,
Like, that's it.
that's
That's
it.
it. Right, put that down.
Write it down."
Insert insert credit card meme here. You know, guys. I need it. Slaps table.
I need it right
I need
now.
it right now.
So, Brian, this
Mm-hmm.
being your first Chili Peppers experience, what are your general overall closing thoughts?
Like I said before, I like the vibe of it. Um, I don't. It might sound weird, right? But I assume a lot of people are also like this. I don't really look into like the meaning of songs when I listen to them.
Hmm.
Like it depends on like how I'm feeling that day. But I don't really like listen to an album to see what they're talking about.
Yeah,
I really listen to the album for like
you're in it for the vibe.
the
Yeah,
vibe mainly.
big and
But I
big
mean,
vibe guy.
big viber. But I liked it a lot. It was very good. I can understand, like I said before, how why people love like listening to them. The
Yeah,
music's really good.
yeah, and I will say this is probably not going to be the only time they will be one of my albums. Like I said, there's quite a few other ones that I very much enjoy. They will pop up again because their sound is it's unique, it's fun, it's all over the place. They have different albums from different eras, and they just all sound different in their own rights. It's great. It's great. The album that follows this album up, by the way, is actually like fully written and like everything was written by the guitarist John Frusciante, and he took a lot of influence from like the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s like British invasion rock bands. And that album is so strange and so different because it literally like it sounds like it was made by like the Beatles or somebody of that nature. It's crazy, but great album on its own right.
That's cool.
But you know, personally, as somebody who's listened to the Chili Peppers pretty religiously for the last 7 years now,
Mm-hmm.
um, which you know, not to brag or anything, but the Chili Peppers were my number one on Spotify for 6 years in a row until this past year when they were finally dethroned by Fall Out Boy.
Oh, I forgot to mention. Oh no.
Oh no,
Oh man.
he's trolling.
Uh,
No.
I can't believe I forgot to say Blackpink have been my top listened artist for the last 3 years.
You can mention it the next time we do Blackpink.
All right, next album. Let's go next week.
Yup.
Get ready for it, Larry. Next Blackpink album.
Um, but like year after year, I was in like the top 0.001% of Red Hot Chili Peppers listeners. It just they were especially in high school. They were almost always in rotation, almost always one of their albums. Because like I said, they have albums of a lot of different styles, a lot of different styles of music, a lot of different genres. So there's kind of something for every kind of mood I was in. But here we are, the most important part of the episode, Brian.
Big
Brace
important.
yourselves. Brian, out of 10, What are you giving Californication?
An 8.
An 8. Ooh, okay, okay. I
I think that's
respect
the
it.
highest. I think that's the highest grade I've given your albums. This is
I
why I
think
got
so.
a 7.9.
We should,
Uh,
after this, you know, what we should do. We should make a spreadsheet.
we should.
We can make
You
average
doing it or am I
scores and
doing it?
stuff. We can do it together. We'll be on
All right, all
Discord.
right, all right, all right.
But personally, I'm gonna give this, and I think this might be my highest rated album so far.
Ooh,
I'm gonna give this a 9.3 out of 10. I
ooh.
love
This
this
guy does
album.
not give out tens
I
easily.
don't. I don't. It
I do.
has to be perfect. Like, there's nothing wrong, like you were saying, with how you listen to music. You're into the music for the vibes. I'm the type of person, I listen to a song, I hear a lyric, and I go, hmm,
So
what
I
do they
mean,
mean by that? So I look it up, and I look up a few different people's, you know, like opinions on what it means, and I hear from a few different people. And occasionally, if an artist is interviewed about the song, hey, you know, what did you mean when you said that? And then you can get it from the artist directly. But sometimes you kind of just got to go off of what some people on Reddit are saying.
this dude, this dude became
Unfortunately.
a, this dude became a language arts teacher. Can't believe
True.
it. So when I
Yeah,
forget his
so you
name.
got
Oh
to
my god.
take
So when Shakespeare wrote this, made this door red. What does that
what
mean?
does it mean?
It's a red door.
It's a red
I
door.
don't know.
It's red. Um
Well,
it's a door.
red means danger usually. So when this character walked through the red door, they were immediately killed, right? See?
No
No, I
way.
don't.
No way.
Anyway,
No, I'm a big
back on
like
topic.
I just gotta listen to the lyrics. I gotta hear the lyrics. I gotta understand them. Um,
Well, you can't understand your lyrics.
that's fine. That's fine.
I I listen to. I understand some words because I know some words.
Hey, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just gotta be in it for the vibe.
You know, Vietnamese album next. I still don't know what they're saying, but you know what? It is what it is.
It is what it is. So anyway, Brian, anything else you want to talk about this week? Anything big?
Uh, not really big, but I forgot to mention it earlier. But one of the big reasons for me choosing Around the World is because the lyric near the end literally goes ding ding dong dong ding ding dong dong ding ding, and I was like, I love this. This is awesome.
Yup. I love like the writing is just all over the place with these guys. It's crazy. It's all over the place. But if you guys have listened to Californication before, what would you rate it? Do you have any favorite songs? Do you have any least favorite songs? Uh, I'm gonna tell you to give it a try, Brian.
No, don't. I'm joking.
No,
No,
no.
yeah, give it a listen.
Give it a
It's a
listen.
really nice. It's a good
Come
album. It's a good
on,
album.
it's good. It's great. It's fun.
Larry gave it a 9.3 out of 10, and he likes them.
I do.
So imagine.
I do think there's a better album, and we'll get it. We'll get it soon. We'll get it soon.
Oh God.
But anyway, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace out.
See ya.